Was Jeff Lebby's time as head coach running out? We dive into the pressure, the expectations, and what's next for his future. Tune in to find out what could be his make or break moment.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got a packed show for you today. So the 5-year rule that Mississippi State thought was going to be in and started making plans sounds like it's not going to be in. So we'll talk about that. Then we will recap our weekend games. Did Landon and I get our upset pick right? You'll have to stick around and find out. But first, let's talk about Jeff Lebby. We talked about Lebby last week and possibly being on the hot seat. Landon and I both called it crazy. Then you have the fourth quarter collapse, and fans are all over social media calling for his job again. And even On3 wrote an article about it and talked about the fans basically at their breaking point. And they mentioned a lot of good things. And one thing that I want to bring up is how Mississippi State continues to lose games. And they do it by undisciplinedness. So they brought up the fourth down roughing the passer penalty that kept a drive alive that eventually led to a touchdown. Then they had back-to-back 3-and-outs and took almost no time off the clock because they're going too fast. They're snapping the ball too early, something we mentioned on Monday's episode. Then they punt to a guy that's taken 2 punt returns back for touchdowns the last 2 weeks in the final 2 minutes of that game. They have a sack with the Bulldogs driving that knocked them out of field goal range in regulation. Arch Manning's backup comes in and throws a strike for a touchdown, and then false start penalties. They had back-to-back before Shapen gets sacked on the fourth down play that ended the game in overtime. Just they constantly beat themselves, and that does go back to coaching.
Yeah, the collapse, and I think we made it pretty clear. Yes, execution was bad as far as what the players on the field did, but coaching did not put them in a place to succeed in that game at the end. And when you have that many mistakes and they just keep compounding on top of each other, it has to go back to the coach. And I understand all the fans who are probably not even going to listen to this amount of it and just watch the thumbnail or read the thumbnail and be like, oh, it's crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. It's like, yeah, we don't think he's going to get fired, but we understand the people who think.
We understand the frustration.
If you're done with Lebby, I get it. He has, I still think given time, he turned it around, because one of the biggest things that you hear coaches talk about that is hard to learn coming from coordinator to head coach is like clock management and game management.
Yeah.
And that's really what has cost this team 2, maybe 3 wins is clock and game management. And really, this is the first year that's been a real thing he's had to deal with, because last year, obviously it wasn't great, but there were so many other things going on that was farther down the list. But so he's learning on the job on that, and I get being done with it, but I just think there's too many administrative and PR type hurdles you would have to clear to actually fire him.
Yeah, and again, he's still early in his head coaching career. This is year 2, and as you mentioned, clock and game management are things that you will learn over time. That's not something that just clicks for coaches usually.
Sometimes it never clicks, though.
Yeah, and sometimes it never clicks. And so that's why, it is very understandable why, hey, I'm tired of him. I want to move on. But he's in year 2. So Lynn and I do not think he should be fired. Now, with that being said, we do think there's enough things there that if he were to get fired after next season, for example, it's like, okay, that was the telltale sign right there. We kind of knew what was happening, because and this happens for players too, not just coaches, early on in their careers, you can kind of tell, okay, these are the issues he struggles with. Let's see if they fix them. And if they fix them, then of course that coach goes on and does great things or becomes a really good coach. And same with a player, they become great players. And if they don't fix them, it's like, we saw that sign as a freshman. We saw that sign as a first year. That kind of told us that this could have been an issue.
Yeah.
The thing is, you just don't know if they're going to fix it or not, especially how early on they are. But these things that they listed, on 3 listed, just can't happen. And it feels like they continue to happen. And it's not just the penalties, which are a lot. And we've talked about that all season long. It's like when they happen, it's just this team is not good enough to overcome key situations like that. They're just not able to do it. And that's the frustrating thing, because the theme is that they continue to make the mistakes, and then that's why they can't overcome them. We talked this offseason and we compared like what they should be, and we were like, hey, with not having as much talent as a lot of other teams, they need to be like Bill Snyder's Kansas State. That's what we compared them to. Like, you don't beat yourself, you let other people beat you, and then because of that, even though we're at a talent disadvantage, we can still win the game. And that's just not what they're doing right now.
Yeah, they don't have the discipline at all. And what you mentioned is exactly right. We have now had enough, like a big enough sample size of Lebby to know what his weaknesses are for sure. Because in that first year, sometimes just, oh, that's a weird thing that happened twice. Is that actually something he struggles with? We have enough of a sample size. We know where he struggles. It's fourth quarter clock management from a offensive play calling perspective, and just overall game management, and then discipline on like getting players to be disciplined on the field. If those things do not get better, it doesn't matter what the talent is. You're still going to find yourself in games like Saturday. Because if you're making mistakes at key times and not managing the game properly, it's hard to pull away no matter how talented you are. So if those things don't get better, that's it. I mean, you can't rely on a coach like that.
Yeah, I went back and I was just kind of curious because, with a lot of these coaches, some of these issues that they have as head coaches, you could kind of point to them having those same issues and being criticized for the same stuff back when they were coordinators. So I was like curious, okay, when he was at Oklahoma, when he was at Ole Miss, UCF, like these places, what was kind of being said about him? And so I went back and looked, and a lot of the stuff that he's being criticized for now, he was being criticized for back then, which is he just doesn't understand that, yes, the up-tempo offense has its place. It is something that can be used as an advantage. However, you have to learn when to dial it back, when to go fast, when to dial back, when to go fast, when to dial back. And he was asked in the post-game press conference, he said, early in the game, they went for it in their own territory, didn't get it, and Texas got a score out of it. And he was asked about that. And he said, well, I think it was a handoff to Booth. We handed it off, and we had everything but we just didn't execute it, and we got stuffed. So we decided to go hurry up and run the same play again. And it got stuffed again. That is not good. It's just not. That up-tempo isn't a beneficiary. Where it is, hey, you just busted off a 9-yard gain, hurry up to the offense, run something quick, another 1-yard gain while the defense is getting back in the spot, looking to the sideline, trying to figure out what to play. Oh, they've already snapped it. That's when it's beneficiary. Just run the same play.
Yeah. And you mentioned he has to learn when to slow it down. And, back when the hurry up offense was at its biggest point, when Mike Leach at Texas Tech, OU was running it, or Chip Kelly's Oregon teams, Oklahoma State, all those teams were running those, they'd have 5-play drives that took 2 minutes because they moved so fast.
Right.
All of those teams knew when to take their foot off the gas. When they had the lead, they all knew, okay, now we slow down. Now we run the ball. Now we do this. Now we take 20 seconds instead of 6 seconds. Right. And he has not figured that out yet. It's kind of weird. Like, I would get it if, it happened once or twice and it's like, oh, we got to stop. It's every week. Even when those early games when they had the big lead, they were still running quickly. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and this is the one thing also. I'm glad you mentioned those other teams that run the up tempo. Because I remember when Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma and they were putting up historic offensive numbers, and everyone talks about how great they were throwing the football. And he came under the Mike Leach tree, so they always kind of compared him to the air raid offense.
Yeah.
But the reason why that offense was actually so great, they were also one of the best running teams in college football, and that didn't get talked about enough. And they also had a great offense. They had a great offensive line, and so what they would do is they would air raid and go fast and go tempo, but in the fourth quarter, they could put a 9-minute drive together by just running it down your throat and putting the game away. And that's what they did. And they slowed it down. They didn't go fast. They used the run game. And that's what a good offensive coordinator does. And that's what a good play caller does. And Jeff Lebby is going to have to learn that, especially because they do have the running game that we believe to be able to do that. With Fluff when he gets back, obviously with Booth as well. They have the things in place to be able to do that. But he just doesn't seem like he wants to rely on it at all.
Yeah, and that part of it is going from being an offensive coordinator or offensive play caller to being a head coach.
Yeah.
Because you are now managing the whole game and giving your defense a break.
Yeah.
So I think Lebby is still figuring out the transition a little bit from offense coordinator to head coach.
And that takes time.
It does. And he just hadn't quite got there yet.
Yeah. And that's why you don't move on yet. Right. So I think we're in agreement there. But all right, coming up next, the 5-for-5 rule is basically what they're calling it. It sounds like it's not going to happen. So what does Mississippi State do here? Because they've been planning for it to happen. We'll talk about that coming up next. Well, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so we got to talk about the 5-for-5 rule. This has been a hot topic the last couple of weeks, especially with Mississippi State. Basically, for those that don't know what it is, it's giving athletes, you just have 5 years to play college football. There's no red shirt. You just get 5 years. And so that is expected to help a lot of teams so they don't have to like, oh, do I only play in 4 games? Do I play in more? Like, what do we do? And Mississippi State, there were reports that 5 commits decommitted, and the reports were that they were expecting this rule to pass. And so they kind of had to cut some ties because they had some other guys that they expected now would be back that weren't going to be back and things like that. Well, over the weekend, The Athletic put out a report saying that it is not going to happen anytime soon, at least. So that's big news because you basically told 5 commits, reportedly, to walk.
Yeah.
And now those spots are open. So, what do you do?
I mean, I guess you got to call them back. Hey, we were wrong. I guess that's what you have to do. But it's such a weird, in a very NCAA thing, that this thing seemed to be like on the goal line, essentially, ready to be passed. And they're like, nah, we're good. We're good. We're going to maybe in a few years. But it's such a weird, the rule makes sense.
Right.
And get rid of us having to figure out what year someone is in this crazy everyone has 6 years of eligibility world.
Right.
It's just going to be easy to track. But now it's gone, and I get why you plan for it to pass, but I feel like they got a little bit too out in front of it, actually, if these reports are true that is what they did. I think they might have got just a little bit too far out in front of the situation.
This goes to my hatred towards the NCAA because for a couple reasons. One, it feels like anytime there's like something that's like, man, this would be so beneficial for the athletes, they're like, nah, we're not doing it. But then if it's like beneficial to the NCAA, it's like, yeah, let's do it. Like, so of course, when things aren't things that they have in mind, they're like, I don't want to help the athletes at all. And so that's frustrating. The other part that's frustrating is it really screws over these programs because they have to prepare for this thing to happen. Because if they didn't prepare for it to happen and it passes, well, now they're screwed. They got to find some guys that they got to cut. They got to do all these things that they have to do because you won't communicate with them and let them know that, hey, this is likely passing, or hey, it's not going to pass this year, but it's likely going to pass the next year, whatever the case may be. You're screwing the teams over by doing this. And, and it's screwing the kids over too, because these commits are now no longer committed, and now they're trying to find other homes. Maybe they will come back in the picture for Mississippi State, but maybe they're now like, man, you cut me because you thought I was bottom 5 in your recruiting class. I guess I'm going to go find somewhere else, and then end up going to a place that's not as good, maybe doesn't develop them as better, whatever the case may be. Maybe they do go to a place that develops them really well, and it works out great. But you're screwing over the schools and you're screwing over the kids by not communicating this stuff and being transparent. There's some schools, and I will say this, Mississippi State's not at fault because a lot of the schools out there probably got the same information that Mississippi State has and weren't making the decisions to, hey, let's cut some guys, and they were waiting to see it play out. Whereas Mississippi State kind of jumped the gun. That's all fair, but it all goes back to the NCAA.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I said the last time we talked about this, the NCAA will find a way to NCAA. Yes. I mean, and that's exactly what's happened. And you're exactly right. If they said, hey, we're not sure if this is going to pass, you probably don't have that conversation with those kids.
Right.
So what you do now, I don't know. It's such a weird situation to be in, to have to try to rebuild relationships or pivot to new, recruits at this point. It's just a bad situation to be in. That's 100% caused by the NCAA.
Yeah, and it's 100% could be avoided. That's the frustrating thing. Like, this thing could have been avoided, and it's not, because the NCAA is, like you mentioned, going to NCAA. That's the frustrating thing about this whole thing. But with that being said, I will not mind Jax Pope if he wants to come back to the class. So
exactly, your boy might be coming back.
Yeah, come on back, because I think he's going to be a really good player. Tamayo Johnson was another one. Mm-hmm. Charles Humphrey. Those are the three off the top of my head. I can't remember who the other two were. But if they all want to join the class back, come on back.
Oh man, such a weird situation. But though I still think the craziest part is not yet. We're probably going to do it, just not right now. What is?
Well, and that's a good point. Why are we waiting?
Yeah, if it's and then implement it, but give people a 1-year grace period to get the rosters back under control or something.
And that's a good point. That's something I wish they did more often when they changed these rules. Was let's give them a year so they don't have to do it right now in this class. Cut a player. Instead, the next year they can be like, okay, well, now that we know this rule's in place, I don't have to sign these 5 extra guys or whatever that I thought I was going to have to. Now, with that being said, then your argument back could be, well, then you're screwing over the seniors this year that could have come back for another year. And I get it, and not everyone's ever going to be happy, but the best.
There's no perfect solution, but there's better solutions.
Right. And it's just frustrating because it's always the NCAA doing this. And that's why, there were talks, and it was never going to happen, but there was talks about some of the big conferences, SEC, Big Ten, I think were the main two, leaving the NCAA and doing it. And I was like, man, I'm all for that because I think the NCAA is terrible. So I was for it. But, all right, coming up next, we'll recap the weekend slate of games in college football. Landon and I get our upset picks. Find out next.
College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, and prices jumping at checkout. But that's why I use GameTime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up GameTime, and in just a couple clicks, I found amazing deals. Talking favorite college football games for as low as $25. My favorite thing about GameTime is you can see the exact view from your seat before you buy it. I hate not knowing what my view is going to be before I get there. It's not a problem with GameTime. And honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download GameTime today.
All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so this past weekend, some really good games out there. Some big-time matchups, some of the key ones. Well, let's first get into our upsets, though, before we jump into those key ones. I had Memphis over South Florida, and, man, that strategy of picking a team that everyone is down on worked again.
Yeah,
Memphis pulled it off 34-31 at home. And then which one was yours?
I had Houston over Arizona State, and it pulled out, was it 24-16? So,
yeah.
Hey, Arizona State, picking them and picking against them is working out as my strategy.
Yeah, no, that worked out great. Some of the other games, Indiana smashed UCLA. So that magical run UCLA was on went down 56-6.
Indiana's so good.
Yeah, they might be the best team in the country, honestly. That's
be.
crazy to think about. But A&M smashed LSU at night at LSU.
That game was 18-16 LSU at halftime.
I know. And it was 49-25 to end. It got away quick. Alabama and South Carolina. Alabama should have lost that game. They really should have lost that game.
This is a fun game to watch.
It was. It was very close to a Shane Beamer marquee win, but 29-22 Alabama, which just shows how crazy SEC is, because South Carolina last week at home gets blown out against Oklahoma. This week they should beat Alabama. I mean, that's the SEC. Speaking of Oklahoma, Ole Miss knocks off Oklahoma at Oklahoma 34-26. Ole Miss, I hate to say it because they're our rival, but I think they're going to make their first playoff berth because they do not play a team with a winning record the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'd be kind of shocked. They would be a monumental collapse if they don't at this point.
Yeah, I mean, because they got 4 games left, and with them being only a one-loss team, they would have to lose twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see that happening. So we'll see. Any other games kind of stick out to you?
I mean, the Vanderbilt-Mizzou game, that was really good until Tribula's injury. That was awful. I mean, shout out to Mizzou's true freshman that came in, though. I mean, he made some big-time throws to give them a shot at overtime, but
1 yard short on the Hail Mary. Almost.
Also, what is Vanderbilt doing? The 2 close games they played that they won, starting quarterback went out for the other team.
Right.
Not saying anything.
Right. No, and they've had an incredible season. Remember when we were talking about the FBI rankings before the year, and FBI had them last in the SEC, and we're like, what is happening here? Because they had dropped the mic. They had a great season. I was so upset with FBI, I threw my mic. No, they had such a good season last year. Like, there's no way they were taking a step back to being last with Pavia there. But yeah, other than that, there wasn't like anything too exciting. BYU and Iowa State ended up being a fun one. BYU won that one. Utah killed Colorado 53-7. I think it was like 43-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
And it was with their backup quarterback for Utah. So things didn't go well there. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really fun weekend, though, of college sports.
Yeah, it was a fun one for the most part. And the weird, and then Georgia Tech just keeps rolling. I think they're probably making the playoff this year too at this rate.
Yeah.
What a world we live in. Indiana, Vanderbilt, and Georgia Tech are like 3 of your playoff teams.
I know. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference of college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Well, I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Post daily videos Monday through Friday, so check that out. And until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.